I used to think love would be enough. That no matter how different we were, if two people truly cared for each other, they could overcome anything. Money. Class. Family. But that was before I met the Drakes. Before I understood what it meant to be tolerated, not accepted. The first time I realized I didn't belong in their world was at a wedding. Not mine, though that disaster would come later. No, this was Callum's cousin's wedding, an extravagant affair in Napa Valley where the wine flowed like water and the guests wore gowns that cost more than my entire wardrobe. I spent hours preparing for it. Callum had always said his family was particular about appearance, and I didn't want to embarrass him. I saved up for weeks to buy a pale blue dress I thought looked classy. I even paid extra to get my hair done at a salon that wasn't the usual corner strip mall place. But the moment we arrived, I knew I had already failed. Vivian Drake, Callum's mother, gave me a quick glance, lips curling in a practiced smirk. "Oh, Lena," she said in that faux sweet tone of hers. "If you didn't have anything appropriate to wear, you could have told me. I have plenty of spare dresses I don't mind donating." The women around her laughed lightly behind their champagne glasses. I tried to laugh too, what else could I do? Later, Callum's sister, Bianca, approached me, pretending to adjust my earring. "Next time, just ask me, okay? We'll make sure you don't stand out, for the wrong reasons." "Callum?" He just pressed a kiss to my temple and muttered, "Ignore them, babe. They don't mean anything by it." But it meant something to me. Everything, really. That night, back in his sleek downtown condo with granite countertops and minimalist art, I confronted him. "They humiliated me," I said. "And you said nothing." He shrugged. "They just need time. You're not who they pictured me with, that's all." "Not who they pictured?" I repeated. "What does that even mean?" Callum hesitated just long enough to confirm the worst. "You know, someone more like them. More like them. Rich. Polished. Raised on private school etiquette and country club rules." I should have walked away then. But I didn't. I told myself that love could win. That once I became his wife, things would change. They didn't. The next incident was our engagement party. A ballroom dressed in gold and white like something out of a luxury wedding magazine. Half the room was filled with Callum's family and their acquaintances, CEOs, attorneys, heiresses. My side? A few college friends and my aunt and uncle from Tulsa who had never been more out of place. I was halfway through my second glass of champagne when Vivian clinked her glass and said with a syrupy smile, "See, even an ordinary girl can stumble into a better life. All you need is a little patience." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Callum squeezed my hand and whispered, "My mom's humor is sharp. You'll get used to it." But I didn't get used to it. I endured it. There was the time they served me a plain grilled chicken breast, no sides, while everyone else ate filet mignon. Vivian smiled and said, "It's just better for someone like you, dear. Simple food for a simpler palate." Or the time Bianca unwrapped the birthday gift I had spent the last of my savings on, a handcrafted jewelry box, and said, "Oh, this looks like something from a clearance rack." Callum always had a reason, an excuse. "She's not great with gifts." They weren't trying to be rude. "You know how my family is." Yes, I did. But I told myself, again, that once the wedding came, everything would change. That being a Drake would mean being respected. That I'd finally belong. I clung to that hope like a lifeline. Until the day it snapped. The morning of our wedding, I woke up in the bridal suite of a 5-star hotel, wrapped in silk and suffocating in silence. It wasn't excitement that filled my chest, it was dread. A quiet warning from my gut that something was wrong. My dress hung near the window, the lace catching the light like spiderwebs spun from diamonds. My makeup was flawless, my hair in soft romantic curls. I should have felt like a princess. I felt like I was walking into a trap. Mia, my best friend since college and maid of honor, knocked and walked in. "You okay?" she asked, eyes scanning me like she already knew the answer. I tried to joke. "I look great, right? That's what matters." She didn't smile. "Lena," she said quietly, "are you sure about this?" I froze. She sat beside me, gripping my hand. "I've stayed quiet because you asked me to. But I've seen how they treat you. And now I just need to hear it from you. Are you sure?" I didn't answer. Because I wasn't. Before I could speak, the door flew open. Bianca, elegant and cold in her maid of honor gown, stepped in. "Mother wants a word," she said flatly. I rose. Mia looked at me like she wanted to throw herself in front of the door. "I'll be right back," I told her. Vivian was waiting in a lounge, sipping champagne, calm as a queen before battle. "Sit," she said. I did. She eyed me over the rim of her glass. "Callum made a mistake," she said. My heart stopped. "What?" A moment of weakness. "But it's over." "You knew?" I whispered. "We all did. But what matters is keeping the family's reputation intact." And then, as casually as someone commenting on the weather, she said, "You're still here, aren't you?" Something inside me shattered. But instead of crying, I smiled. Because now I finally had clarity. I left Vivian sitting in that lounge, still swirling her champagne like nothing had happened. Her final words echoed in my head like a warning shot. "You're still here, aren't you?" They all knew. Callum's entire family knew he'd cheated. And not only did they hide it, they expected me to thank them for letting me stay. I didn't walk back to the bridal suite. I stormed. Mia jumped up the second I entered, her eyes narrowing. "What happened?" I slammed the door shut. "He cheated on me." Her face didn't change. She just nodded, like she'd suspected it all along. His mother confirmed it. Said it was a mistake, like a wrong drink order, and that I should smile and walk down the aisle anyway. Mia inhaled sharply. "You're not going through with it, right?" I grabbed the dress off the hanger and held it up like it was poison. "No. I'm not marrying him. I'm ending this." Mia took a step closer. "Then do it right." I blinked. "What do you mean?" She crossed her arms, a dangerous smile forming on her face. "If you walk away now, they'll spin the story. Say you got cold feet. That you weren't ready. That you were ungrateful. They'll keep their precious image intact. But if you want to destroy them?" Her eyes gleamed. "You do it at the altar." I stared at her, heart pounding. "You want me to go through with the ceremony?" "Not exactly." She held up her phone. "You go out there, looking flawless. Smile like nothing's wrong. And when you reach the altar, drop the bomb." I hesitated. It was insane. Dramatic. Risky. It was also perfect. I let out a slow breath, feeling something inside me ignite. "Okay. Let's burn this thing down." The ballroom was breathtaking. Golden chandeliers sparkled overhead. The string quartet played something soft and expensive sounding. Hundreds of people, most of them strangers, sat with perfect posture, champagne flutes in hand, waiting to witness a union of two elite families. Callum stood at the altar, handsome as ever in a custom tuxedo. Smiling like he hadn't betrayed me. Like he still owned the room. He had no idea what was coming. I stepped into the entryway of the ballroom, my dress flowing behind me like a cape. My heart thudded with adrenaline, but my face was pure poise. Gasps rippled through the crowd. I walked slowly, deliberately, my heels clicking with each step. Vivian sat in the front row, her expression frozen. She knew something was off. Callum's smile faltered. I stopped halfway down the aisle and turned to the crowd. The music faded. A hush fell over the room. I took a deep breath. "Thank you all for coming," I said, loud and clear. Today was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. But instead, it's the most important. Callum stepped forward, confused. "Lena, what are you doing?" I ignored him. Marriage is built on trust. On honesty. On loyalty. And it turns out, I've had none of those. Gasps. A few people in the back stood up. Vivian's face drained of color. "Callum has been cheating on me," I said, scanning the room. 4 months. Possibly longer. And his family? They all knew. Pandemonium. Whispers. Cries of what, and no way. Callum reached out for me. "Lena, stop. We can talk about this." I stepped back. "Talk? You had your chance. You could have told me. But instead, you and your family chose to let me walk blindly into this." Vivian stood up, her voice sharp. "You're embarrassing yourself." I laughed. Embarrassing? I haven't even started. I turned to the back of the room. "Mia?" The doors flew open. And in walked her. The side chick. Perfect tan. Long legs. A gold dress that clung to her like it was made for betrayal. She looked around, stunned by the opulence, then locked eyes with Callum. "So this is where you've been lying about me?" Dead silence. Callum's face turned a shade of pale I'd never seen before. "Kelsey? What the hell are you doing here?" I smirked. "I invited her. Thought she might want to see what kind of man you really are." Vivian was on her feet, furious. "This is outrageous. You don't know what you're doing." "Oh, but I do," I said sweetly. "I'm freeing myself. From all of you." Kelsey crossed her arms. "You told me you were single. That your clingy fiancé wouldn't let you go." That was the final nail. Gasps turned to laughter. Someone even clapped. I reached into my bouquet, pulled out the engagement ring, and held it high for all to see. Then I dropped it. The tiny metallic clink echoed like thunder. "I won't be marrying Callum Drake today," I announced. "But I will be reclaiming my dignity." And with that, I turned and walked out, past the guests, past Callum's stunned groomsmen, past Vivian's gaping mouth. Mia met me outside, holding the car door open. "You just made history," she grinned. I got in. My hands were still shaking, but my heart felt lighter than it had in years. Callum didn't deserve closure. His family didn't deserve grace. They deserved this. And this was only the beginning. Mia hit the gas like we were in a chase scene. The second the hotel disappeared behind us, I tore off the veil, kicked off the heels, and let out a breathless, wild laugh. "Holy crap," I exhaled. Did I actually just do that? Mia grinned, eyes on the road. "You did more than that. You executed a public takedown worthy of a Netflix series." My phone buzzed in my lap. Non-stop notifications. Missed calls, Callum, 12. Voicemails, Vivian Drake, 5. Texts, unknown numbers, emojis, fire reactions, Anne. Mia's phone chimed. Oh. My. God. What now? I asked, already bracing myself. She turned the screen to me. A video, high quality, perfectly framed, of my altar speech and champagne toss. The caption? Bride exposes groom's cheating in front of 200 guests, must watch. Views, 1.3 million and climbing by the second. I blinked. Wait. Is this viral? She refreshed. 2 million. TikTok, Instagram, Reddit. Girl, you broke the internet. I stared out the window, mind spinning. 1 hour ago, I was moments from marrying into a high society family. Now, I was, what? A meme? I opened the comments. Not all heroes wear capes, some were Vera Wang and vengeance. Lena Hart walked down the aisle and delivered a TED Talk with heels on. Ethan's tears are my Roman Empire. I laughed until tears formed in my eyes. By the time we reached Mia's apartment, it had fully exploded. A DM from a podcast producer. An email from a publisher. And the biggest shock? A blue-check journalist asking for a feature story. This is unreal, I said, scrolling. Do people really care this much? Mia tossed me a can of sparkling wine. They care because you did what no one ever does, walked away with your head high. You flipped the script. You're the hero now. I sipped, still stunned. I thought they'd all think I was dramatic. Oh, honey, Mia smirked. You're iconic. The next morning, I woke up on Mia's couch to a new reality. Trending on Twitter. My name on BuzzFeed. And 3 missed calls from Callum. Followed by 1 voicemail that made my blood boil. Lena. Come back. This is fixable. You're being dramatic. Don't ruin both our lives over one mistake. One mistake. I blocked his number without blinking. Then Vivian's call came in. You need to return immediately. Do you have any idea what you've done to this family's reputation? We welcomed you. We elevated you. And this is how you repay us? I stared at the phone. Elevated me? Mia overheard and laughed. Wow. That woman's ego is bulletproof. I blocked her too. But not all the Drakes were furious. Bianca, Callum's sister, messaged me later that day. Holy heck. I shouldn't say this, but what you did was legendary. Mom's spiraling. Dad's rethinking his entire will. Callum hasn't stopped crying. Can I still follow you on Instagram? I showed Mia. She nearly choked on her cereal. Now she likes you, she said. Convenient. We both knew Bianca had laughed at me at that vineyard wedding, whispered behind champagne glasses. But somehow, it didn't even bother me anymore. I had leveled up, and they knew it. By the end of the week, the video had passed 10 million views. A TV producer reached out for a docuseries. A wedding planner DM'd me and said, I'm officially naming this the Lena Hart exit strategy. My inbox overflowed with people thanking me, strangers who had been cheated on, belittled, silenced. You gave me the courage to walk away. I saved your video and showed it to my therapist. You helped me leave my controlling fiancé. Thank you. I wasn't just some viral moment. I had become a symbol. And the best part? The Drakes were imploding. Callum's father, Richard Drake, issued a statement through their family firm. We were unaware of certain personal matters and are taking time to address them privately. Translation? Investors were pulling out. Their business, built on pristine image and trust, was crumbling. Vivian was kicked from 2 charity boards. Bianca's friends leaked text messages calling her a snob in a castle of glass. Callum? Moved out of the family estate and into a sad corporate apartment. Rumors said he was dating someone new, blonde, rich, and miserable. Bianca texted again weeks later. Callum's new girlfriend dumped him. Said he cries in his sleep. Mom won't speak to him. Dad barely tolerates him. You really lit the match, huh? No. They poured the gasoline. I just handed them a spark. I eventually got a place of my own. A small loft apartment in the city, with exposed brick and a tiny balcony just big enough for a chair and a cup of coffee. Every morning, I'd sit out there, open my inbox, and wonder. How did I go from broken bride to national hero? But I already knew the answer. It wasn't about revenge. It was about freedom. One afternoon, I was browsing books in a local shop when I felt someone watching me. I turned, and there he was. Callum. Hair messier than I remembered. Eyes tired. Suit a little too wrinkled. He walked up slowly. Lena. I nodded. Callum. You look good. I am good. He hesitated. I just wanted to say. I'm sorry. I sipped my coffee. Cool. That's it, he asked, almost offended. What else is there? He blinked. I don't know, maybe a second chance? I smiled. You had your chance. You blew it. And just like that, I turned away. I didn't even hear him leave. Later that night, Mia called. You need to do a TED Talk. I laughed. About what? How to set your ex's life on fire using only words. She gasped. Yes. That's the title. I leaned back in my chair, watching the city lights flicker. No more trying to fit in. No more shrinking. No more waiting for approval. For the first time in my life, I was writing my own story. And the next chapter? Would be unforgettable. 6 weeks had passed since I walked out of my own wedding and set the entire Drake legacy on fire, figuratively, of course. Callum had been humiliated. His mother Vivian had gone pale as ash. His father looked like someone had knocked the wind out of him. And me? I had never felt more alive. Now, I began every morning with peace. Not forced politeness, not fake smiles at a breakfast table surrounded by silent judgments. Just peace. I'd moved into a bright little apartment near the river. I drank iced coffee on my balcony, wore mismatched pajamas, and no one cared whether my shoes were designer or not. I was finally mine. Of course, going viral wasn't part of the plan. But the clip, me exposing Callum mid-ceremony, tossing champagne in his face, and walking out like a queen, took the internet by storm. Over 2 million views in 24 hours. Hashtags exploded. Hashtag Lena was right. Hashtag the bride unbothered. Hashtag not your doormat. And suddenly, I was more than a runaway bride. I was a movement. TV interviews. Podcast invites. A book deal offer with the tentative title, I Didn't Say I Do. At first, I hesitated. I didn't want to ride on a scandal. But the messages pouring in changed that. Women from all over the world were writing to me. Your story helped me leave someone who kept making me feel like I wasn't enough. You reminded me I don't need to shrink to fit someone's idea of love. That's when I realized, my pain wasn't just mine. It belonged to every woman who had ever been silenced. Naturally, the Drakes tried to salvage what was left of their image. Vivian sent me a carefully worded email. Let's speak like adults, Lena. Family doesn't just vanish. Oh, Vivian. Family doesn't vanish, it exposes itself. A few days later, I received a message from Callum. I know you hate me. I just want to explain. I lost everything. No, Callum. You lost what you never appreciated. Then came the shocker. A phone call from Richard Drake. Callum's father. I debated answering. But something made me pick up. His voice was softer than I expected. Tired. Lena, he said, I owe you an apology. I didn't speak. I should have stopped that wedding. I knew my son wasn't right for you. I waited. Was this guilt or damage control? I don't expect forgiveness. Just acknowledgement. I gave him that much. Then hung up. But just when I thought they were done, an anonymous text came through. Drop the book deal or we'll drop the truth. Cute. I sent it straight to my lawyer and Mia. Her response? Let them try. You've got receipts, Queen. Which I did. Hundreds of pages, emails, and screenshots. If they wanted war, they'd better be ready. That week, I made my first TV appearance. A live talk show hosted by Tory Lane, known for being sharp, empathetic, and unapologetically real. Under the lights, in a tailored blazer and clear confidence, I sat across from her. "Lena," she said. "What made you stand up at that altar and speak the truth?" I smiled. Because for once, I was done being quiet. Applause erupted. From that moment on, everything changed. The story wasn't just mine. It was everyone's. And people were watching. The hashtag Lena was right trended for 3 straight days. Mia made an Instagram account at @Thebredunbothered. 500,000 followers in a week. But amidst the love and support, something unexpected arrived, a letter. Handwritten. Sealed. From Vivian. "Lena. We didn't treat you right. But you showed me something I never expected. That real strength isn't loud. It's steady. Maybe you were never one of us. Because you were too good for us." I didn't know if it was real remorse or strategic PR. Either way, I folded the letter and filed it away. Not as a keepsake, but as proof that even the coldest walls can crack. Weeks passed. I was invited to speak at my former university during their Women in Leadership Summit. Standing at that podium, I looked out at hundreds of young women, wide-eyed, hungry for truth. And I said, "You are not lucky to be loved. Love is lucky to have you. Never let anyone treat you like a consolation prize." After the event, a girl no older than 20 hugged me and whispered, "You gave me the courage to walk away." I didn't cry. I smiled. Because I knew exactly what that moment felt like. That night, Mia and I sat on the rooftop of my apartment, barefoot with a bottle of cheap wine and a box of tacos. "You know," she said, "they're probably still spiraling." "I hope so," I laughed. "Let them stew." "But here's the best part," Mia said. "You didn't win because you embarrassed them. You won because you reclaimed you." She was right. This wasn't just revenge. It was resurrection. I wasn't the girl they mocked. I wasn't the outsider desperate to belong. I was Lena Hart. And I no longer had anything to prove. It had been exactly 1 year since I walked out of that wedding in a designer dress and scorched the Drake family's reputation behind me. 12 months since I stood at the altar, looked betrayal in the face, and said no. No to being silenced. No to shrinking myself. No to spending my life in a cage wrapped in pearls. And now? I was thriving. That morning, I was on my balcony, sipping an iced latte and watching the city breathe. A soft breeze tugged at my hair. Below me, the world rushed on. But up here, it was quiet, my kind of quiet. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. But curiosity won. I let it go to voicemail. 10 seconds later, a notification popped up. I hesitated, then pressed play. "Hey. It's me, Callum. I don't know if you'll ever listen to this, but I need to say something. You ruined my life, you know that? My job, my reputation, my family, all of it." I paused the message. Let out a single, hollow laugh. "No, Callum," I whispered. "You did that all by yourself." In the 12 months since the wedding that wasn't, my life had done a full 180. I'd moved into my dream apartment, a bright, airy loft with real plants I hadn't killed and a bookshelf I actually filled. I traveled. I signed a book deal. I started saying yes to myself, and no to people who only saw me as convenient. Mia called it my soft life revenge arc. I called it peace. Meanwhile, Callum's life? Let's just say Karma had a clipboard and she'd been taking notes. His mother, Vivian, had been cut from 3 charity boards after sponsors pulled out post-scandal. His father, Richard, publicly distanced himself from him. Callum got kicked out of the family firm. Rumor had it he was now working in real estate under a fake last name. And his new girlfriend, the one they probably would have approved of, left him within months. Mia texted me once. Callum's crying in his car. Vivian's in hiding. Richard's rewriting his will. You really lit the match, huh? No. They built the bonfire. I just struck the match. One afternoon, I was browsing a bookstore when I felt it. That strange, prickly awareness. Someone was watching me. I turned, and there he was. Callum. He looked smaller. Not physically. But in every other way. His shirt was wrinkled. His eyes were tired. And that effortless confidence he used to wear like cologne? Gone. Hey, he said. I blinked. Hi. You look good, he offered, scratching the back of his neck. I do, I replied. A pause. Can we talk, he asked. We're already talking. I mean, really talk. I folded my arms. Say what you came to say, Callum. He sighed. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I know I hurt you. I know I was a coward. I said nothing. I lost everything, he added. But the worst part? Losing you. I tilted my head. You didn't lose me, Callum. You threw me away. His throat bobbed. Do you think, maybe there's a version of this where we start over? I smiled, genuinely. Soft. Pitying. There's a version of me, I said, that believed I had to earn love. That version is gone. He looked like he wanted to say more. But I was already walking away. For real, this time. Later that week, Mia and I sat on the rooftop of my building, eating tacos and watching the sunset. So, she asked. You finally saw him? I nodded. He apologized. And I didn't need it. She raised a chip like a toast. Growth. I laughed. Closure. She smiled. Freedom. We clinked our drinks together. The book came out 2 months later. The Bride Who Walked Herself Home. By Lena Hart. It debuted on the bestseller list. The launch party was packed, podcasters, readers, survivors, supporters. No suits. No snobbery. Just people who understood what it meant to walk away from something toxic and rebuild something beautiful. After my speech, a young woman approached me, tears in her eyes. I watched your video the day I left my fiancé. You saved me. I hugged her. Not because I was a hero. But because I understood. One morning, I got a call from a TEDx organizer. We want you to speak at our event, she said. Topic, choosing yourself. I said yes. Because if my story, messy, real, painful, could help someone choose themselves before they gave away too much, then it was worth every tear. A year ago, I thought I was losing everything. But it turns out, I was only losing what was never meant for me. Now, I have a life built not on appearances or approval, but truth. I have love, from myself, from friends, from strangers who became my tribe. I have peace. And most of all, I have nothing to prove. So here's to the girl who once stood at the edge of a wedding aisle, wondering if she was enough. She was. She always was. And now? She doesn't walk for anyone else. She walks for herself.